mental health playing a big role in the homeless population, Manhattan is making strides to help those in need. 13's Joseph Robin has more tonight on how local agencies are working together to help the homeless.
Manhattan, the name itself is a currency. It is a word that conjures images of steel and glass piercing the clouds, of fortunes made in the blink of an eye, of a skyline that serves as the globally recognized icon of ambition. To the world, this island is the center of the universe. It is the playground of the elite, where penthouses sell for the GDP of small nations, and where a single handbag in a Madison Avenue boutique costs more than a minimum wage worker earns in a year. Tourists flock here by the millions to stand in the neon glow of Times Square, to walk the High Line, to capture a selfie with the Statue of Liberty in the distance. They see the lights, they see the power, they see the dream. But there is another Manhattan. It is a city that exists in the long, cold shadows of those billion-dollar towers. It is a city that wakes up at 4 in the morning, not to catch an early flight, but to move before the police arrive. It is a city of cardboard mattresses laid out on freezing concrete, of hands cracked by the wind, of eyes that have seen the American dream curdle into a nightmare. This is the Manhattan where the air doesn't smell of expensive perfume, but of stale coffee, exhaust fumes, and the sharp, metallic tang of despair. Imagine walking down Fifth Avenue on a Tuesday morning in 2025.
Work with Pawnee Mental Health, work with Be Able, as well as our victim advocate, and see if we can identify resources for these folks so that we're not having to constantly deal.
You pass executives in tailored suits rushing to meetings that will decide the fate of corporations. You see students laughing, holding iced coffees that cost $7. And then you look down, beneath the scaffolding of a luxury renovation, huddled against the cold brick, is a shape under a gray blanket. A human being, maybe a veteran who fought for this country, maybe a mother who worked at jobs until her rent hiked up by 50%, maybe a teenager kicked out of their home for being who they are. They are the ghosts of the greatest city on earth. They are everywhere, yet they are seen by almost no one. We walk past them, we look through them, we pretend they are part of the architecture, like the fire hydrants or the street lamps, but they are not scenery. They are the symptoms of a society that has broken its most fundamental promise, that if you work hard, you will have a home. Welcome to Homeless US News. Today, we are not just going to show you the tents and the sleeping bags. We are going to take you deep into the systemic machinery that churns out homelessness. In the wealthiest borough of the wealthiest city in America, we will examine the brutal economics of 2025, the failure of the shelter system, the hostile architecture designed to make human beings disappear, and the fragile, flickering hope that keeps people alive on these unforgiving streets. This is not a story about them. This is a story about us. This is Manhattan, the city of dreams, and the city of the lost.
Joseph, thanks. Be Able is open Monday through Saturday as a community hub to stay out of the heat or cold and offer safe environment for those who need it.
The price of existence when housing is greater than a life. To understand why thousands of people are sleeping on the sidewalks of Manhattan tonight, we must first look at the math. It is a cold, hard calculation that does not care about human dignity. In 2025, the average monthly rent for an apartment in Manhattan has climbed to a staggering $5,632. Let that number sink in. $5,632 for a single month of shelter. Now, compare that to the reality of the working class. The minimum wage in New York City is $16.50 an hour. Do the math. A full-time worker, clocking 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, earns roughly $34,000 annually before taxes. That entire yearly salary, every single cent earned from a year of labor, would not cover 6 months of rent in the average Manhattan apartment. This is not a gap. It is a canyon. It is an economic impossibility. We are witnessing the rise of a new demographic, the working homeless. These are not people battling addiction or severe mental illness, though those struggles are real and present. These are baristas, security guards, retail workers, and adjunct professors. They shower at gyms. They store their clothes in storage lockers. They sleep in their cars or couch surf until they run out of favors. And then they end up here, on the street. The vacancy rate for the most affordable apartments in New York City is now 0.39%. Effectively, they do not exist. When a low-income worker loses their apartment perhaps due to a medical emergency, a breakup, or a landlord looking to renovate and raise the rent, there is nowhere to go. The ladder has been pulled up. The safety net has been shredded. Take the story of Michael. He is 52 years old. For 20 years, he worked in the kitchens of the restaurants tourists love. He had an apartment in Hell's Kitchen. He had a life. Then, during the economic shifts of 24, the restaurant closed. His savings lasted 2 months. His landlord didn't wait for a third. "I never thought it would be me," Michael told us. "Standing outside a shuttered storefront on Broadway, I utilized the system. I paid my taxes. I cooked your food. And the day I couldn't pay, the city looked at me and said, 'You don't matter anymore.' Now, I sleep 3 blocks from where I used to be the head chef. This is poverty by design. It is the result of a housing market that treats shelter not as a human right, but as a speculative asset for global investors. Luxury towers stand half empty, owned by shell companies and billionaires who visit once a year, while thousands sleep on the pavement below. It is a tale of 2 cities, stacked on top of each other, separated by a locked door and a doorman. The E-Train Hotel, when the subway becomes a temporary home. As the sun sets and the wind off the Hudson River turns biting cold, a migration begins. It is a movement that happens every night, largely unseen by the commuters rushing home to the suburbs. The homeless of Manhattan descend. They move underground into the labyrinth of the New York City subway system. For most New Yorkers, the subway is transit. It is a way to get from point A to point B. But for the unhoused, the subway is the E-Train Hotel. It is the only place in the city that offers warmth for the price of a swipe or a jump of the turnstile. The E-Train runs entirely underground, protected from the elements. On cold winter nights, the cars become makeshift bedrooms. People curl up on the hard plastic seats, pulling hats over their eyes, clutching their backpacks to their chests to prevent theft. The rumble of the train is a lullaby. The screech of the brakes is an alarm clock. But in 2025, the sanctuary is under attack. The city administration, under the banner of public safety and quality of life, has launched an aggressive campaign known as Cops, Cameras, and Care. They have flooded the subway system with police officers, adding over 1,100 overtime shifts every single day. Their mandate is to enforce the rules of conduct: no lying down, no taking up more than 1 seat, no bulky items. Effectively, they have criminalized the act of being tired and poor. Imagine being exhausted, freezing, and hungry. You find a warm corner on a train, and you close your eyes for the first time in 20 hours. Suddenly, you are shaken awake by a baton or a shout. You are told to move. You are ejected from the station into the freezing night. This is not a solution to homelessness. It is a game of whack-a-mole. It shuffles human beings from a train to a platform, from a platform to the street, and from the street back to the train. And the environment itself is changing. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority has begun replacing traditional benches with leaning bars. These are narrow, slanted pieces of wood or metal that you can lean against, but you cannot sit on, and you certainly cannot sleep on. This is hostile architecture at its most cynical. It tells the elderly, the disabled, the pregnant, and the homeless, you are not welcome to rest here. Keep moving. For people like Marcus, a veteran who sleeps on the train, the subway is a place of constant vigilance. You sleep with one eye open, he says. You watch the other people. You watch the cops. You watch the kids looking for trouble. It's not rest. It's just pausing. It's waiting for the sun to come up so you can be invisible again. Right to shelter, when the right to a bed is only on paper. The common refrain from those who do not know the reality is simple. Why don't they just go to a shelter? It seems logical. The city has a right to shelter law, unique in the nation. Theoretically, Anyone who asks for a bed must be given one. But the reality of 2025 is far more complex and far more broken. The New York City shelter system is bursting at the seams. As of June 2025, over 100,000 people sleep in the shelter system every night. This includes over 35,000 children. The system has been overwhelmed not just by local economic evictions, but by a massive influx of migrants and asylum seekers, over to 100,000. Since 2022, to manage this overflow, the city has instituted draconian time limits. Single adult migrants are often limited to 30 days in a shelter. Families get 60 days. After that, they are evicted. They must reapply. They must start the process all over again, often waiting in line for days at intake centers like the one at the Roosevelt Hotel, sleeping on the sidewalk while they wait for a new assignment. And for the long-term, local homeless population, the congregate shelters are often viewed as more dangerous than the streets. Imagine a large room with 100 cots, spaced 2 feet apart, no privacy, no locks. Theft is rampant. Violence is common. The bathrooms are often unsanitary. Bedbugs are a plague. I tried the shelter, says Teresa, a woman we met near Penn Station. I woke up and my shoes were gone. The next night, a fight broke out and someone got stabbed over a phone charger. I decided I'd rather take my chances with the cold. At least out here, I can choose who I sleep next to. Out here, I can run if I have to. The shelter system is not a home. It is a warehouse for human beings. It is a holding pattern that offers little in the way of a path forward. Case managers are overwhelmed, with caseloads so high they can barely learn their clients' names, let alone help them navigate the labyrinth of housing vouchers and bureaucracy. It is a maze designed with no exit, trapping people in a cycle of dependency and despair. Trank, fentanyl, and fractured minds, the twin crisis, drugs and mental health. We cannot talk about homelessness in Manhattan without addressing the twin crises of mental health and addiction. But we must be careful. Not every homeless person is an addict, and not every addict is homeless. However, the trauma of living on the street, the constant fear, the sleep deprivation, the physical pain creates a vulnerability that drugs exploit. In 2025, the drug supply in New York City has become toxic in ways we have never seen before. Fentanyl has been the killer for years, but now it is increasingly cut with xylazine. Known on the street as Trank, xylazine is an animal tranquilizer. It is not an opioid. Naloxone, the overdose reversal drug, does not work on it. Xylazine causes horrific, necrotic skin ulcers. These are not just injection marks, they are open, festering wounds that eat away the flesh, exposing muscle and bone. We have seen people in Harlem and the Lower East Side with bandages wrapped around their legs, oozing fluids, in agony with every step. The medical outreach teams are doing heroic work, performing wound care on street corners. But without a clean place to sleep, these wounds rarely heal. They lead to sepsis. They lead to amputation. Simultaneously, we are witnessing a mental health crisis that is being met with handcuffs instead of care. The mayor's directive to involuntarily hospitalize those deemed unable to care for themselves has led to scenes of police officers tackling confused, terrified individuals in subway stations. They are taken to hospitals, medicated for a few days, stabilized, and then because there are no long-term psychiatric beds available, they are discharged right back to the street. It is a revolving door of misery. We are treating a public health crisis with a police response. We are criminalizing psychosis. We are punishing trauma. They took me to Bellevue, says David, a man who hears voices that he says are angels. They gave me pills that made me sleep for 2 days. Then they gave me a Metro card and said good luck. I went back to the same bench. The angels were still there, but my coat was gone. Hostile architecture, when the city silently drives away the poor. Walk through Manhattan today, and if you look closely, you will see a city that is waging a silent war against its own people. It is a war fought not with guns, but with design. It is called hostile architecture, and it is everywhere. Look at the ledges outside of office buildings. They are studded with metal spikes to prevent sitting. Look at the window sills. They are slanted at 45-degree angles so no one can rest a weary body. Look at the parks. The benches have armrests placed specifically to stop anyone from lying down. In Tompkins Square Park, a historic center of the East Village, the battle for public space has been physical. Police sweeps have become routine. Sanitation crews, guarded by NYPD officers, descend on encampments. They toss tents, sleeping bags, family photos, and vital documents into the back of garbage trucks. They call it cleaning. The people who live there call it theft. They took my mother's Bible, says Cynthia, an artist who became homeless after a medical bankruptcy. They took my paints. They took the only tent I had to keep the rain off. They told me to move along. Move along to where? Where do we go when the world runs out of space for us? Mutual aid and red doors, flames of charity in the cold city. These sweeps do not solve homelessness. They simply disperse it. They break the fragile communities that unhoused people form for protection. They force people into darker, more dangerous corners of the city, away from the outreach workers who know where to find them. It is a policy of visibility, not validity. The goal is not to help people. The goal is to make them invisible to the tourists and the real estate developers. Yet, even in the concrete jungle, flowers grow through the cracks. In the face of systemic cruelty, we see the unstoppable force of human compassion. It comes from the mutual aid groups like Washington Square Park Mutual Aid and the Tompkins Homeless Collective. These are everyday New Yorkers, students, retirees, workers who refuse to wait for the government to act. They set up tables with hot food. They distribute socks, hand warmers, and clean needles. They offer what the city often refuses to give: dignity. They look people in the eye. They learn their names. It comes from organizations like the Bowery Mission, which has kept its red doors open for over a century, offering meals, showers, and a residential recovery program that has saved thousands of lives. Stories like Amadou's, who went from sleeping by a bridge to working and renting his own studio, prove that recovery is possible when it is fueled by community and patience, not punishment. And there is hope in policy if we are brave enough to fight for it. The evidence is clear. The Housing First model works. Give people a permanent home with supportive services, without preconditions, and they stabilize. It costs the taxpayer less to house a person than to cycle them through shelters, jails, and emergency rooms. We are seeing a push for the city of yes housing reforms, aiming to update zoning laws to allow for more housing construction. But the fight is to ensure this housing is actually affordable, not just more luxury condos for the ultra-rich. The battle is for universal affordability, for vouchers that actually cover market rents, for a city that makes room for its service workers, its artists, and its elderly. The solution is not a mystery. It is a choice. We have the resources. We have the buildings. We have the knowledge. What we lack is the political will. Manhattan as a mirror, a call to conscience and action. So here we are, 55 minutes later. You have seen the numbers. You have heard the stories. You have walked the invisible city. The sun is setting over Manhattan again. The lights of the Empire State Building are turning on, a beacon of gold and blue. But down on the street, the shadows are lengthening. Tonight, over 4,000 people will sleep on the concrete of this island. Tonight, a mother will try to hush her crying baby in a shelter room shared with strangers. Tonight, a veteran will shiver on a subway grate, dreaming of a country that remembers him. This is not acceptable. This is not normal. And it is not inevitable. Manhattan's crisis is a mirror. It reflects who we are. It asks us a question every single day. Do we believe that housing is a human right? Or do we believe it is a privilege reserved only for the lucky? You have a role to play in this story. Do not be a bystander. When you walk down the street tomorrow and you see someone slumped in a doorway, do not look away. Look them in the eye. Acknowledge their existence. Say good morning. Say I see you. Because the first step in destroying a human being is to ignore them. And the first step in saving them is to recognize their humanity. But don't stop there. Demand more from your city. Call your council member. Support the Housing First initiatives. Donate to the mutual aid groups and the missions that are doing the work on the ground. Advocate for the end of hostile architecture. We can build a Manhattan that belongs to everyone. A city where the skyscrapers don't just cast shadows, but shelter dreams. Thank you for watching Homeless US News. Thank you for caring enough to witness the truth. Now, turn off this screen. Go out into your city and go be someone's miracle.